Good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to everybody and to our Honorable Minister. Today we have a short performance by the students of 𝐸𝐾𝐻𝐻. 𝐸𝐾𝐻𝐻 is a registered NGO that aims to enhance the quality life by providing high-quality education and capacity-building initiatives for girls and women in urban slum communities in Kolkata. The performance put up by the children is a testament to the fact that girls' education is key to changing our society and the world. Educated girls can take on any challenge and excel, and there is no stopping them.
Good afternoon, everyone. and a very warm welcome to our annual awards ceremony of the Ladies Study Group Charitable Trust for the year 2023-24. It is my great honor to welcome and thank Ms. Smriti Irani, Honorable Minister for Women and Child Development, Minority Affairs, Government of India, for gracefully accepting our invitation to be the chief guest for the award ceremony and being here with us today. Thank you, ma'am. The Ladies Study Group Charitable Trust has been recognizing and honoring exceptional initiatives and selfless dedication of registered NGOs since 1975, especially the contributions made for betterment of lives of the underprivileged sections of the society. Our focus during 2023-24 has been on supporting girl-child education, something I'm personally very passionate about. I strongly believe that educating girls can be the game changer in Nari Shakti and strengthening the foundation of our nation's growth as we move forwards towards Viksit Bharat. LSG has invited organizations to submit their nomination, and a panel of jury members consisting of eminent citizens of the city has finalized the awarding. We are pleased to announce for the year 2023-24, the winner of the LSG Trust, Charitable Trust is Rupantaran Foundation for their contribution, commitment, and unparalleled devotion to the education of the girl child in the state of West Bengal. The awardee will receive a certificate, citation, and a cash award. I would now like to request our chief guest, Ms. Smriti Irani, to please present the award. Friends, please join me in welcoming Ms. Smriti Irani on stage with a huge round of applause. I request Ms. Indu Wala to kindly read the citation.
Ladies Study Group Charitable Trust Annual Award 2023 in recognition of an outstanding contribution by an institution that supports the education of the girl child from socio-economically disadvantaged backgrounds. Rupantaran Foundation, established in 2009, is a non-profit, non-government organization with a vision of a transformed society built on equity, dignity, and peace. The word Rupantaran literally means the process of positive transformation. True to its name, Rupantaran empowers disadvantaged individuals, aiming to shape a just, equitable, and non-violent world. It works on the issues of child education, child protection, gender equity, livelihood promotion, and nutrition. Rupantaran collaborates with diverse groups, fostering responsible social change agents. Operating in West Bengal and other Indian states, it strives for impactful change. We are extremely pleased to present the Ladies Study Group Charitable Trust Award 2023 in well-merited recognition of Rupantaran Foundation's highly commendable achievements. I would like to invite the representatives from Rupantaran Foundation on stage, Ms. Smita Sen and Mr. Abhishek, to receive the award from the Honorable Minister. We extend our heartiest congratulations to Rupantaran Foundation for the commendable work that they're doing and wishing them more success in their future endeavors. Friends, the LSG Charitable Trust disperses approximately 20 lakh rupees towards various initiatives including girl child education and vocational training at Disha Foundation and South Kolkata Hamari Muskan, midday meals at MCKS Food and the Hungry Foundation, medical equipments at Saroj Gupta Cancer Center and Research Institutes, etc. The LSG Shanti Devi Khaitan Award supports a girl student for training at the Woodlands College for Nursing. May I request Mr. Abhishek to say a few words, please?
Thank you. On behalf of, I'll say, all team members of Rupantaran Foundation and the girls we work with and have been associated with, I'm thankful to Ladies Study Group for recognizing our hard work. This year, Rupantaran is completing its 15 years, and the service to humanity is something which we aspire of and is continuously trying of. This award being received from Honorable Union Minister of Women and Child Development, Ms. Smriti Irani, Madam, that too a day after National Girl Child Day is very, very special and motivating. So thank you so much. Thank you.
We will now have an interaction with the Honorable Minister, Ms. Smriti Irani ji, who has been a huge inspiration for women across the country and globally. She has had a successful career as a media professional for 2 decades from 1994. She joined BJP in 2003, becoming the National President of BJP's Women's Wing in 2010. She was elected to the Rajya Sabha representing Gujarat in 2011. Smriti ji was appointed Minister of Education in 2014 and Minister of Textile in 2016, thereby becoming the first woman to hold office as minister in both ministries. She was also the Minister for Information and Broadcasting in 2017-18. In 2019, she achieved the unthinkable by defeating the Gandhis and winning the Lok Sabha seat of Amethi. She is the youngest cabinet minister and currently Minister of Women and Child Development and Minority Affairs. Some of the initiatives in her ministry include Mission Shakti, PM Cares for Children scheme, Mission Poshan, and Beti Padhao Beti Bachao scheme. It is indeed an honor to have you, ma'am. Thank you. To moderate the conversation, we have with us Ms. Shweta Punj, an award-winning journalist who's known for her work on political economy. She has worked in CNBC, Bloomberg, UTV, and India Today, over 2 decades of experience in reporting, editing, curating content, and news for TV, print, and digital mediums. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Shweta Punj on stage. Thank you, Smriti ji, for coming to Calcutta and being here with us today. We are eagerly looking forward to your insights. Over to you, Shweta. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bhavna ji. It's a matter of immense pleasure and privilege for me to be speaking with Smriti ji, someone that I've personally looked up to for a very, very long time. And I don't know if you'll remember, I'd covered your campaign briefly when you were campaigning in Amethi. And I still remember I was with her in the car and she told me, it's getting late, you should head back. And I thought, it's not a big deal, I can manage. And later I thought to myself, I should have taken her advice more seriously, because the fact is, from Amethi to Lucknow, there are no street lights. It got dark, and
Do tell them that was 14.
Yes, that was 2014, and it got dark, and my cab driver decided to stop by and get himself a drink. So in my mind, I was like, I should have listened to her. So
You sound like my kid.
So it's an honor for me to be speaking with her. We don't need an introduction of hers, right? But there's something that all of us, I think, admire about her. She is a woman of steel, because she's had so many naysayers pulling her down, but she's managed to always rise above the crowd. She's always managed to rise above all those who's pulled her down. So whether it's winning, whether it's being called the giant slayer, or whether it is countering the opposition day in and day out, I think there's so many lessons in resilience that one can learn from Smriti ji. So
Yes.
So let's start from the very beginning. I did a fair amount of research before speaking with you. Not that I needed to know more, but it's always nice. I want you to talk a little bit about your growing up years and the learnings that have made you the person you are today, and how they've managed to carry you forward, and the strength that they've given you. And when you were 7, you had an ambition of getting into that school where, so there's a little anecdote that I'd like to share, and I was watching an interview of hers where she shared that there was a school that she wanted to go to, but her mother had told her that it's difficult for her to go to that school because they couldn't afford it. But she stood outside that school every day until somebody asked her, what is it that you want? And she made it happen ultimately. So that was when she was 7, and the story continues. So I want you to go back a little bit, Smriti ji, and tell us about your learnings as a child that you implement even today.
Well, when you're poor and you know where you want to go and what you want to get, and you articulate it, you're called defiant. When you succeed, you're called tenacious. So that is the journey. From a defiant girl to now being called a tenacious woman. And I think that that tonality in how you're addressed changes if you succeed publicly. But the biggest fairy tale we sell to women, not only in our communities but across the world, is that things get better when you succeed. Every woman and every young girl is told, ये कर लोगे तो सब ठीक हो जाएगा, वो कर लोगे तो सब ठीक हो जाएगा. And she ultimately manages to reach that very spot which she has manifested and worked for. Does not matter whether it's professional or personal. She reaches there and looks around and says, so the first aspect in terms of my journey, I realized that success is just success, but it's not all-encompassing life. I think what I can show gratitude for is that I learned it early. People discover it in their late 30s or their 40s. I knew it when I was 17.
How?
I read a lot. Not curriculum, because I was defiant. And I wanted to be financially successful very soon. You're right, my parents could not afford education in some very celebrated institutions. So at 17, I knew that success is for public consumption, failure is for a tool for public humiliation. But both these things, success and failures, can become learning tools for you for life. What you learn in success possibly is how to walk away from it. What you learn in failure is how to stand right back up immediately, if you decide. So if you want to talk about my journey, I can give you examples which are variant. I think what helps me as an individual is a consciousness at a very young age. I think it also helps with the fact that I had a very financially challenged background. What poverty teaches you, no amount of big schools and MBAs can teach you. It teaches you to be frugal. It teaches you to be street smart.
But also depends on what you take.
It teaches you not only when to watch your back, but to tell other women like you when to head back home.
Yeah. So you've highlighted the positive aspects. It also depends on what you take out of a situation.
There's nothing negative about life, except if you have a vision or a prism that is negative. Life is just life. Life doesn't sit in judgment. You sit in judgment of life. Life is no gender. Life is no feeling. Life is no family. Life is not a part of a community alone. It is not a unit. It is not a club you can aspire to be in. It happens to everybody. So there's nothing negative about life. The only thing that can be negative is if you look at life negatively. The issue is, one needs to realize at some point of life, most of us do, we do it in our 40s, again I'm saying 50s and 60s. So when I used to read, I used to tell myself, even at the age of 10, of all the books I'd read, and especially people, autobiographies, and every time I used to read towards the end of their lives, they used to do this, oh, I wish I had done that. I would sit in rooms where elders would have conversations. And professionals who are on the precipice of retirement, I would specially pick them out. And every time I would ask them, "Kya reh gaya hai? You're about to retire." And every time, they would never say, "Kaam pe kya reh gaya hai?" They would say what they missed out in life. And that is why around the age of 13, I was very sure that this realization will not need me to be 50.
Yeah, she's not yet 50.
I am not. Though I am not called a youth politician. Yes.
A 5-time minister, not yet 50, and sounds
A
like
3-time MP, yes.
5-time minister. You've been
Yeah.
5-time minister, and you sound like an old soul.
I do. I think all married women with children do.
That I have to say, yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. So, starting on that very optimistic note, you've just come back from Davos. You were also in Medina. If you could share with us a little bit about how is the world looking at India, and also you've been a parliamentarian for over 2 decades, and there's been a transformation in India's polity, in India's economy, and how the world has looked at India. So if you could just share with our guests here on what is it that you heard.
So both are different contexts of how our country is looked upon now. Everybody here seems experienced enough to reflect. When was ever an Indian non-Muslim allowed there?
And you didn't cover your head. You wore the sari.
I wore my belief
Yeah.
and my culture, and I think that I could stand there without compromising on it because of the goodwill that the Prime Minister has generated. Please recognize it's not only your cultural goodwill as a nation, it is also a tectonic shift, not only of how you're perceived as a country, but how far other nations would go to complement your journey.
Yeah.
So I think that today the Prime Minister in GCC countries is the highest decorated current head of government. And that is the reflection that you saw there. Now coming to Davos. Davos, this is my 2nd year as a lead of the delegation, which is a bit different because a gender minister in the World Economic Forum has never led a delegation.
Oh, that's wonderful.
No country in the world has ever had a gender lounge on the main promenade where big investment comes. So on the streets that money walks and talks was the India story of Indian women-led development, which
Fantastic.
has never happened. So on the street, which had Microsoft, which had AI, which had 300 global ministers, in lunches which had 30 heads of governments, kings and queens from across the world, in the India lounge for women, of women, by women, talking about not only women of India, but opportunities for women across the globe. So Indians, as Prime Minister says, when we reap a benefit, we don't keep the benefit to ourselves. When he says Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and we think one world, one family, we distribute generously what we have achieved. In that lounge was the famous Sesame Street from the US discussing with us the toilet cleaning program of the government. Unheard of, unimaginable.
Amazing.
But while that conversation was ongoing, the similar conversation in a different room, let's say everybody's got a bottle of water. Some of you may be aware of a brand called Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Now the head globally and the chief executive officer and the global leadership of Coca-Cola, in a room adjacent to that on a public platform, says that India has done everything it can to prove to the world that you are a resilient supply chain, that you share the benefits of a vaccine with mankind, and at the same time, they are coming to India with new investment. So India became the fulcrum of telling the world that you can grow, but you can grow with a sense of purpose and justice. Now, when the two worlds meet, we talk about, and you've heard this, India, the voice of the global south.
Yes.
Right? So the global north, which is the World Economic Forum, which is 15% of the world's growth engine, meets the 85% of the world's economy strength. And India is well positioned to be the bridge between the global north and the global south. Imagine what you feel like when you lead that delegation. That's what I felt.
That's just fantastic. Can we just, yeah. See, Davos was covered in a very exhaustive manner by all channels, newspapers, but this aspect.
So let me give you another aspect. Davos had called Modi once upon a time when he was Chief Minister of Gujarat. Then there was political pressure to cancel his invitation.
Yes.
Then they tore up the invitation. Then they said, oh, we made a mistake because India elected him. Now they want him back every year. So can you imagine life comes full circle?
It does. Absolutely.
It happens to everyone.
Well, yes.
Everywhere.
You know, you as an individual, you embody multiculturalism at its best. You speak several languages. You have a family legacy of people, of family members from all different states. We're speaking days after the Ram Mandir has come up in Ayodhya. It felt, I think, to several people greater. The celebration was greater than what we would do on a Diwali festival. Streets were lined up with diyas, and it felt like an India celebration. Having said that, after, even now, days later, the international press has been talking about this huge cultural renaissance for India in a very negative light. The way they are portraying this is not what it is. I want you to just have a response for all those naysayers right now who are putting down India's cultural renaissance.
Firstly, when I say that India is now positioned to be the bridge between the global north and the global south, what do you think all those people internationally who never wanted India to ever be a part of this ecosystem would beat us with? If you remember pre-COVID, there were murmurs just at the anvil of COVID. इनके पास 6 लाख गांव हैं, गरीब जनता है, how will they manage? But we are witness to the fact that some countries ran out of toilet paper. We didn't. We are witness to the fact that many countries were giving chits for vaccinations. We had a digital app. We are witness to the fact we were told कि UPI हिंदुस्तान में आएगा, कौन गरीब उसको use करेगा? Today 50% of the global transactions for payments happens on UPI. Global, not Indian, global. Right? We have made a case for the world that we as a nation, under Modi, have ensured that for the past 2.5 years, 800 million people are given free food.
Yeah.
Without a single human being saying, I didn't get it. No country in the world has done that consistently for 2.5 years. We created a vaccine. We deployed 2.2 billion doses only to our people digitally in a time frame which is unheard of. There was no chaos. There was no maramari. There was no china jhapti. We did it. So when we had a head of government who said, trust me, people trusted him. And there was, as the study groups, I think second word is collaborate and the last is celebrate. What you are today in is after the collaboration in a state of celebration. And if you ask our elders, कि जब celebrate करते हैं तो कोई ना कोई कमी निकालता है. हमें ये देखना है कि हमें जो कमी निकाल रहा है उसकी ज़्यादा चिंता कर रहे हैं कि जो हमारी सेलिब्रेशन का माहौल है उसकी ज़्यादा चिंता कर रहे हैं. Now, what does the West beat you with? The West says that you were colonized as a country. We taught you democracy. Correct?
Yeah.
Agreed? So we were supposed to be gulams because they taught us democracy. Now we have evidence going back 1,100 years, written in stone in the state of Tamil Nadu, which shows how is a candidate elected and disqualified from local governance. If you look at the Magna Carta, when did it come? We wrote our democratic processes of election and disqualification 1100 years ago. Who's the Democrat?
Yeah.
Second, from the 1880s, that decade, that century, was when the first case was filed in a court of law so that the Ram Mandir can be built.
Yeah.
Right? Who was in charge of our country in 1880s? Who? We went to court knowing that it is beholden to the throne of England. We as a community showed our belief in the justice system, so strong was our evidence. Correct? Azadi आई, democratic, constitutional आप एक republic बने, but you still kept fighting in a court of law. In 1880s के बाद, you did Pran Pratishtha in 2024. The longest case ever fought in a judiciary that was beholden to another nation state.
Yeah.
Then the transition democratically happens in your country. आपने 500 साल अपने धर्म के लिए धैर्य दिखाया है. तो इस वक्त अंग्रेजी मीडिया क्या लिखती है उसके लिए भी धैर्य दिखा दो.
Don't say Angrezi, say Western.
Okay.
Western media, not Angrezi media. As a policy maker, as someone who's held several very crucial ministries that has a direct impact on job creation, on the quality of life that people lead, whether as a textile minister, whether as a women and child development minister, we want to understand what is your guiding principle when you take on a ministry. What is the motivation? What is the intention? Or what is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
I've had, under the Prime Minister's guidance, of creating a few first administratively. What you now know as the National Education Policy, the base draft and the entire surface of collaboration, conversation around it was done by me.
Okay.
I've had the privilege under the Prime Minister's direction of creating India's first MOOCs platform. At that time, people used to say, digitally kaun padega? Come COVID and everybody was studying digitally. So imagine Prime Minister Modi and working with him, that people presume leadership is about firefighting now. A true leader knows what is needed next and prepares you for the good or the bad coming next. So when you work with such a persona, and now after Pran Pratishtha, I'm a bit overwhelmed when I work with him. And I'll tell you why. If any practicing Hindu here knows, we believe and we say कि जब भगवान की मर्जी होगी तब बनेगा. We keep telling our kids, जब भगवान की इच्छा होगी होगा. When something goes wrong also we say भगवान ने इच्छा की कुछ अच्छा होने वाला है इसलिए भी बुरा हुआ. Correct? Most mothers do it. Right? Imagine भगवान की इच्छा थी मंदिर बने प्राण प्रतिष्ठा 24 में हो. भगवान की इच्छा थी कौन करे? हाँ. So now I have worked with him as a minister for 10 years and now I look at him differently and say, अब तक तो लोग चुनते थे अब भगवान चुन रहे हैं.
No, because they say that whoever does the pran pratishtha, उनकी भी आहुति चढ़ती है.
मैं वही कह रही हूँ.
It's a lot of,
look at it from my perspective personally. So now when we work with him, when you say what is my priorities, he first made a promise that there have been institutionalized instruments which create bad governance. If you look at businesses, he took away 63,000 compliances because businesses, especially our home strengths, were not blossoming. And he attracted more and more investment into the country because of it. He took away over 1,100 obsolete laws. मतलब एक लॉ तो ऐसा था कि बॉयलर आप एक कमरे से दूसरे कमरे में ले जाएंगे, आपको 7 साल की या 5 साल की जेल भी हो सकती है. One of those kind of, can you imagine?
Yeah.
So he went into the detail and created opportunities for better interface, better employment opportunities. Now, in a phygital age, COVID hits, what does he create? He creates something called bank sakhis, right? Which means elderly, people in villages can't go to the bank. He creates an army of 2.5 lakh women in this country who take a digital device and go to every customer.
Yeah.
Unimaginable even 15 years ago. 2.5 lakh women in this country, average transaction, even if they do 1 lakh rupee a day, कि लोगों का पैसा लेके बैंक में डाल रही हैं. Can you imagine the volume of business only those women are doing? He then enhanced the number of women who work in self-help groups, right? Now they are, 9 crore women in self-help groups?
Yeah.
Do you know the size of business they do every year? Self-help group, $37 billion.
That's phenomenal. That's more than, I think, all the decacons in the country.
Now if you look at self-help group, everybody thinks, अरे वो अचार बना लेंगे, पापड़ बना लेंगे, stitch कर देंगे, they'll do some masala, they'll do some local product, right? He's now said, let's introduce them to drones.
Drone didis, yeah.
Yeah. So he's reimagining every time how to engage women, not only from a perspective of economics, but how they are perceived. Imagine in a village now where there is a drone didi.
Yeah, yeah, it's happening. It's happening in Punjab already. And so,
I mean, when you work with such a person, can you imagine?
So then it's a tall order.
Of course it is.
Because the benchmark keeps going up higher.
That's why when somebody asked me, वो PTM meeting कैसे रही, when my father went to meet him.
How was that?
I said, class teacher मोदी हो, उसके बाद तो report card में sign ही काफी है, पास है कि fail वो भी नहीं पूछ रही हो.
She's referring to a picture that she had shared of her father meeting Prime Minister Modi. I think that was a very powerful picture.
No, but can you imagine, for a parent of a child who was homeless at 7, I was out on the streets at 7. I have my father, I mean, a very typical North Indian gentleman. Ever since I've gotten married, he's never had a sip of water in my house, let alone a meal. पुराने ज़माने के people, they would say, बेटी का जहाँ घर है, we will not, हम 7 गाँव तक खाएंगे पीएंगे नहीं. All the ones who know the old customs.
Yeah, it's very North India.
It's a very North India thing. And he sees me suddenly sitting across the table and working. The very fact that his daughter can even converse to such a legend is overwhelming for such a father.
Yeah.
And he has never, he always say, हम बेटी का अपने ऊपर बोझ नहीं लेंगे किसी भी favor का. And the only thing he's ever asked in my life, that too he fell down. He broke apart, he's had a stroke. And he's telling me, I think I'm going, he's 73. My mother says he's 74, they keep contesting it. But he says, जाने से पहले एक बार मोदी को देखना है. He's never asked me for anything. And as a girl who comes from nothing, and the only thing a parent can ask for, you make him sit in front of the legend. The man shakes my father's hand. And then this man has done Pran Pratishtha. So imagine how my father's hand feels like right now.
So just hearing this gives me goosebumps, Smriti ji. You know, we stories such as yours have so many lessons in them, lessons of resilience, strength, and so on. At this stage of your life, do you consider yourself successful? Do you feel happy and do you feel content? Did you ever think that you're going to be one of the...
One thing you need to, and I might sound like I'm giving some Gita Gyan here, but there's no relation between happiness and success. You become miserable when you connect happiness and success.
Are you content?
What is happiness? My nani was a Bengali. She died when I was I was 7 months pregnant with my son. And she brought me up, literally. My son is 22, so that's 23 years ago. She died. Okay? If I can have unke haath ka luchi aloo right now, that's happiness. It has nothing to do with my success.
Fair point.
So if you disconnect the two, you're genuinely going to be happy.
That's a very important...
If you can give me right now, somebody does a tomato chutney as good as she did, I'd be happy. But you can't. So you need to relook at what you call happiness.
Very profound. That was very, very profound. You mentioned about your son. You've been a working parent, and since...
I am a working parent.
You are a working parent, I'm sorry. Since your child is a little older now, so I thought maybe...
A child is always a child. Ask any woman here. Ask that gentleman who looks fairly... Yes. Everybody, is your mom still calling you a baby? So, yeah.
So, this is a question that's often asked to women. How do you manage? How do you manage?
And that is why I don't answer this question at all. Start asking it of men and then I'll answer.
So you never play the gender card. You never do, right? You made a statement on menstrual leave
because I'm
also.
a gender, I'm not a crutch.
Thank you for saying that. So, when it comes to I was hearing about your work schedule. I think there have been days when she's worked 18 hours, 19 hours, right?
Yes.
What has kept you going in the most difficult circumstances on days when you've been repeatedly attacked by the opposition? There has been your controversy's favorite child. There have been attacks made on your children also. How do you muster that courage and strength? Do you have like a practice that you do? Do you meditate? What is it? What do you deep dive into to bring that Smriti come out and say, hey, okay, I'm going to take this person on and hit back?
I don't hit back. And that's because hit back has a connotation as though I hate. I'm too busy to hate anybody. And hate is too strong an emotion. Secondly, I think that if you ask what keeps me going, as a professional when I was in media or in politics, it's about being the best wherever I am at. And it's not because only I'm a minister or I'm an MP or I've been an actor. One of my first jobs was selling beauty products on the streets for $200 ka dihadi. In the first McDonald's that has ever opened in this country, I was the first dishwashing team member. Even there, my question to the person hiring me was, how do I become the manager? Right? So if you ask me what drives me at that time, it is not to be poor and homeless like I was when I was 7. In terms of when you say when opposition members attack me, how do I deal with it? I don't, because I don't need validation. I don't need it from my friends, I don't need it from my family, I don't need it from my enemies. Or those who perceive themselves to be my enemies.
Did you never need validation?
No.
Not even as a child?
Nope.
That really reverses a lot of parenting principles that some of us are trying to follow.
No, I think it's the greatest compliment to my parents and their upbringing. That if there is anybody who will possibly judge me, it's only my God, no living human being.
Wonderful.
So I don't seek validation, that's why half the problem is solved. Insofar as those who want to attack my kids, as any mother would agree possibly, then I'm a battle axe you don't want to mess with. I don't say this very lightly. I have said it publicly, without remorse. I come from the footpath. I don't mind going back to the footpath as long as I can protect my kids. I don't care if I have no money, no power, no position, no job. To defend my kids, I'll go to the death. The question is those attacking them, are they willing to do the same? Most probably not. Ask any mother, she will tell you she has the same sentiment. Because we bring a child into the world with a promise that we will protect that child as long as we are alive. That's why even if we are 40, we are 30, we are 50, our mothers call and say, "Khana khaya?"
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether you're 30 or 40 and you're a great working professional, your mother will call you and say, "Ghar aa gaye?" That's being a mum. If I say this better, that's being an Indian mum.
So when you
can mess with me, but it's a bad idea to mess with my kids.
And the opposition has done that. They have.
Yes, and that's why they'll never win a Amethi again.
So, Bhavna ji, do you have any questions that you'd like to?
Anybody with a question, I'll take it and then I will go back to Delhi.
Thank you so much. So there are a lot of women and industrialists sitting in the audience, and we all have been working a lot towards the charity and the CSR areas. We want to know, to build the nation, to help government build the nation forward, we've been doing our work in our own fields, whatever best we feel. Is there anything that you feel the government want us to focus on, some areas that will help?
I think we need to be mindful of the fact that even your government works with a sense and purpose of community building, right? So when Prime Minister Modi says, for instance, from an industry point of view, when he says make in India, what does it mean? When he says make in India, make for the world. And I'm only talking because you have industry leaders here. If you can look at global standards that you need to meet and check whether organizationally from a manufacturing capacity you do meet them or not, then share that practice with others who may be competitors or a part of the ancillary industry. That's you working back to create possibilities of export and employment, correct? Second, if you're a part of a commercial association of industries, so, the other is, if you're a part of a chamber of commerce, of enterprise, what can you do for women, let's say, in businesses, who are employees but not business leaders? Teach them how to negotiate their contracts better. Most women compromise on money for the nomenclature. Most women end up doing all the work, not take credit, so that the next time nobody says, you're too ambitious, you're nice enough to be a part of the team. Most women strategize to say, let me be a part of the team, koi baat nahi, I will stay back after hours, or I'll take that work extra home. Teach them how to do it strategically. Teach them how to take credit for their own work. Thirdly, identify which are the small businesses that have been successful. Because Make in India is not about big factories alone. Prime Minister says, look at small businesses like Swanidhi, right? It's for street vendors. 58 lakh loans given out to street vendors in your country. NPA is less than 3%. Which means that fiscal discipline in your country is now operationalized at the level of street vendors. Normally informal economies and banking institutions used to say, it's only the big industry that is fiscally disciplined, prudent, pays back loans, so let's invest more, right? Modi now has made a case for fiscal discipline of street vendors. So look at the small businesses in your supply chains. See who has capacity, if they can be helped with extra credit support, better managerial interface. Pick just one such case, all of you, one each. How many are in the room right now?
150, 200.
How many people are in the room right now? It's around 400, 200, 300?
About 150, she's saying.
So let's say 150. Let's say 100. Every year you pick one company or one individual, just help that person. You will end up giving rise, in this room alone, to 100 new solid businesses. That's Make in India. If you do that much, imagine.
Thank you, sir. Also wanted to know if Modi ji comes back to power, which we
There's no
so.
if.
Yeah.
What say?
What are the three?
I need to correct this, Bhavna.
Yeah. So Modi ji is back in power. So what are the three priorities of your ministry for women and child development?
Correct that. Yes.
So what are the three priorities in your ministry for women and child development?
And who says that I'll get the portfolio?
Oh, okay.
Modi hai to kuch bhi mumkin hai.
Okay, if somebody else also take over that portfolio,
Then you'll have to ask that person.
which was
I am not a Gandhi family member कि मेरा तय है कि अगले साल भी मेरे पास सत्ता है, उसके बाद भी मेरे पास सत्ता है. I am a part of a democratically elected political system.
One big thing that you learned and did something which was the game changer for your Amethi elections.
Only one?
One that you feel, I'm sure there's a huge list, but one that you feel was a big game changer and you felt, okay.
For
And
Amethi?
how was that moment of victory?
I showed up.
So just to take Bhavnaji's question.
So let me give you a small context, Bhavna. One, why did I say the one thing that happened that changed Amethi for me? I showed up.
It's true.
So
it's such a daunting challenge. Yeah.
Let me give you a context. All right. Amethi BJP in all the elections, and remember the Gandhis were fought by Maneka Gandhi herself, by Sharad Yadav, the big celebrated leader from Bihar, and many stalwarts. So one, I was not so-called a stalwart as perceived by many people who are politically arrogant. I have this chit of a woman who's come to fight the Gandhis. In fact, somebody called Mrs. Vadra said, Smriti, who? So now, I come to a constituency where we've never got more than 30,000 votes. Right? I come, I think you were there, so I come like 22 days, 23 days before the election. So it's not as if you're in a constituency for at least a year or 1 month, let alone 2-3 months to prep, to know, to walk about. So in 22 days, I went from 30,000 votes to 3 lakh votes.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Okay.
With a very small team. There were like some 5.
We were like 5 people.
Yeah.
I showed up and 4 other people showed up. Right? So we were just 4 others, only 1 gentleman, 4 women. That's the team. Okay? So we went from 30,000 votes to 3 lakh votes. Now remember, Mr. Gandhi didn't fight alone. एक तो ये भ्रम मैं दूर कर दूं. What you see today as India Alliance, I defeated it in 2019. Right?
Yeah.
He came together with Samajwadi Party and Mayawati ji. He didn't fight me alone. You can Google this, Prabhu Chawla's interview, where he says that in 2014, just because Modi landed up on the last day to campaign for me, they feared a tectonic shift, so Mrs. Sonia Gandhi called up Mulayam Singh Yadav to say, help my son. As though it was not good enough, the 3 parties was fighting this one woman alone. Mrs. Gandhi made a special call to Mulayam Singh Yadav. He promised, I will transfer 1 lakh vote to your son. It's on record, it's available. Now guess what the difference between me and Mr. Rahul Gandhi was in 2014. After Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav transferred, the difference between us was of 1,07,000 votes. Now imagine if Mulayam Singh Yadav had not transferred 1 lakh votes, in 22 days, I was 7,000 votes away. So when I came, and thankfully I have a journalist who was independent, who was witnessed. You have close to 1,800 polling booths, right? I didn't have a table at 70% of the booths. I didn't have people, they were too scared to come out. So when there's 70%, nobody on the booth, I've still come this close. By 19, on every booth I had somebody to put out the table, right? You all go to vote, so you know what that table means.
Yeah.
Remember this, that every school, private, that became a polling booth was held by somebody who was associated with the Gandhi family. So there, if you remember 2014 and you Google, you see me fighting with somebody who is a private secretary of Mrs. Vadra. Because by law she was not supposed to be there, but she was there and nobody is doing anything about it. By 19 I had people in every booth. Come 2022, right? I had 20,000 people. In 2023, I have 60,000 people. But what happens electorally? BJP had never won Zilla Panchayat, ever. I was in Bengal when I said, I'll fight and campaign in Bengal, don't worry, we'll do both. BJP now has a Zilla Panchayat Adhyaksh, BJP now has MLAs, BJP now has MLCs. And there are two places, Musafir Khana and Gauriganj, Nagar Palika. Never ever since it was formed did BJP win, we just won that. And in 2022, in the local assembly elections, out of the 5 Vidhan Sabha seats in Amethi, Congress lost in 4 with security deposit gone. So somebody who fought me in 2019 again, not alone, but with 2 other parties, had a vote share of about 4,30,000, is today down to 1 lakh votes. So to answer your question again, what did I do to change Amethi? I showed up.
In 2014, I remember Amethi looked like a town from the dark ages. It looked like an India of the...
That's because 80% people didn't have electricity.
Yeah, it really did. It was quite shocking for me personally because that was my first visit to Amethi and I was honestly appalled. There was one big factory which was lying closed for several years and it was sanctioned by Rajiv
since
Gandhi.
You've not come to us since that time, let me tell you, when you came, 499 factories were shut.
Yeah.
80% people had no electricity. Similarly, people had no toilets.
Yeah, toilets.
We didn't
is
have
out
a
of question.
collector's office.
Yeah.
We didn't have a police line. We did not have a fire station. We did not have a CT scan machine. We did not have dialysis. This is the Gandhi bastion for 40 years.
No street lights.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Forget street lights, home lights, nothing. Since you've come, we not only have 3 lakh toilets built, we have 1 lakh homes built. We've had not only the district hospital, the collector's office, fire brigade built. We've done the police line. We now are for the first time in independent India connected to the expressway.
Wow.
And also, now we have South Asia's largest Coca-Cola bottling plant in Amethi. And the loan size for small businesses in Amethi, as of numbers given by the State Bank of India along with 9 other banks only last year, to small businesses was over 2,200 crores. And apart from that, I have investments worth 8,000 crores which has come to Amethi. And that is in the past 5 years as MP, without my mum being the head of the UPA.
So my question is, will I be going campaign trailing with you again for 2024?
I don't know, unless you're the parliamentary board which declares my candidature, I can't say.
So what next for you, Smriti ji? Going back to what you narrated to us as when you went for a job to McDonald's and you said, I want to be a cashier when you were being...
No, I didn't want to be a cashier. I wanted to be the manager.
Manager, sorry. You wanted to be a manager when you've been given another position.
They actually did manage to take me from washing dishes, because I was so ambitious, to stand next to the cashier's thing and say, welcome to McDonald's. But no, I wanted to be the manager.
So now what next? You've been a 5-time minister. What is Smriti Irani's politics and what next for you? What defines your politics? Every phase is a different version of you. Yeah. So what is you?
Yeah, I think that everybody asks politicians or public personalities, what next? What do you want? What do you aspire for? Nothing.
But you said you're ambitious.
Yes.
And you're not even 50.
But I'm ambitious, but I also said I'm smart. So, and I'll tell you why I say this. And I say this not from political experience or life experience, but what I've spiritually experienced. If you look at our elders, what did they teach you? What does Gita teach you? What does your philosophy teaches you? That if you're in want of nothing, then you're ready to go. I'm ready to go.
Go where?
Wherever God wills next.
Okay.
If it means going from planet Earth, oh, so be it. But I live my life on my terms. And I've still become successful. I am what I am without compromise. And fail or win, I am still loved by people who matter to me. I am flawed and forgiven by my own family. I succeed when everybody else fails. I'm the only person till now in the history of India's democracy that has defeated a sitting president of the Congress party nationally. So from that 7-year-old kid who had no house, no money, this is where I've come. Now when I say that 7-year-old kid, why do I remember that kid? My father would take a chadar and lay it on the footpath in Delhi. Whoever knows Delhi knows in Dholakwa there's an army club. And he would sell books there, and I would keep looking across the road at the big gadis that go. Right? The army and the supreme commander of the armed forces is the President of India. So I have seen that center, that capital of ours, from the footpath, and exactly tomorrow, I'll be with the President of India. Should I hunger for more?
So you've manifested your life? Would you say that?
Yes. I totally believe it. Because to come from that to where I am today is nothing but God's kindness. There are millions of people who work hard. There are millions of people who have ambitious. There are millions of people who have opportunity. How many of you know comes from the footpath opposite Army Club to go stand next to the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces? All in 47 years.
Can we have a huge round of applause for Miss Smriti Irani? I think many of us have goosebumps right now. I know I do. I'll quickly open the floor for some questions from the audience.
24 seems like more or less a done deal. As far as 2029 goes, are we sitting in the midst of India's Prime Minister?
Oh, wow.
Well, since you didn't name names, are you going to be that lady? And if you're in the BJP, I'm happy to campaign for you. If you are pronounced so by the BJP Parliamentary Board.
I think Prime Minister Irani has a nice ring to it.
I think, you know what, why I look at life differently. I said something here which I've never said before. मोदी को अब तक लोग चुनते थे, अब भगवान ने चुना है. I stand in that presence every day. How many of you get to work with such a person? So why only 24? He's God's own child, God's own man. और दूसरा, in 14, my tenacity in Amethi, when somebody tried to publicly humiliate me and say, "Kaun Smriti?" Who? That man stopped his entire campaign across the country, came to Amethi, just to say, "Meri choti behan hai." Remember? और परिवारों में ये प्रथा है कि जब तक बाप जिंदा हो, उत्तराधिकारी की चर्चा करना भी पाप है.
Any other question?
I think not after that.
I think everyone's just soaking the answer in. Yes, right. I know I am too. The lady at the back over there.
Good afternoon, ma'am. According to you, has there been an evolution or de-evolution of women over the centuries?
How do you see women devolve? Just being a woman is the biggest symbol of evolution.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I think that's the shortest answer I've given. Yes. Yeah, the lady here in white.
Yeah.
Please, if you could just stand, it helps people move around. Otherwise, difficult to look at dainty hands in the crowd.
Just one quick question. BJP in Bengal.
Thank you for your support. Look forward to your vote.
Can't wait.
Yes. Yes, ma'am, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Without majorly or having to make major compromises in your
Yes.
personal.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you why.
Yes.
There's a cost which is attached to having principles. If you're happy to pay the cost, you will succeed no matter what. I was happy to be called unpad. I was okay to be humiliated by people who said, "Kaun Smriti," because I knew exactly where I'm headed on my terms. So it is possible. And I say this so that anybody who listens to me knows that if they feel it's an impossibility, I would love to hear them out and help them so that they can stay on the principled path. Every conversation I have about my journey, I always caution people, there is a cost. You will be humiliated. You will be subjugated to hate. They will come after your family. Question is, do you know how to defend, protect what you love? And do you know how to stand up for your principles? I do. Unabashedly. And are you unapologetic about it? I am. I could have had major failures. But even that would have been on my terms. You know, ma'am, the job before McDonald's, I actually went to get myself appointed as the air hostess of Jet Airways. They rejected me. They said I didn't have personality.
He wasn't wearing his specs that day.
So, like I said, I was a Miss India finalist. I was not comfortable with modeling. So I left. It's a decision. I found a role like Tulsi, which means I could act in a very respectable fashion, so I stayed. So life gives you opportunities to choose. Choose wisely.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, the lady over there. Yeah, please go ahead.
How you have transformed
Ma'am,
yourself.
No, it doesn't matter now that she stood. Yes.
Yeah, like you said, you're unpad and not very well. I mean,
I didn't
formally,
say I'm unpad.
No,
People
no,
said
no.
I am.
What I'm trying to say, like not really formal education, but the way you present yourself,
ma'am,
you
now-
talk yourself
now
is
that I can-
amazing.
ma'am, now
for
that
me,
I can
you also
afford
like
it-
God gifted.
Ma'am, now that I can afford it, I've got an executive certification from Berkeley in FinTech.
But the way
And
you present is.
I did that when I was 46.
How did you find the time?
How? Yeah.
How? How did you
Because I
manage
just
the
wanted
Where
to
did
do
you
it.
get the time and.
I am possibly, irrespective of how fat I am, the best ambassador for Nike, which says, just do it.
Last
Yes,
question.
ma'am.
Yes.
Here.
Good afternoon. I'm awed by you, ma'am. And do you have on your agenda to have an autobiography of Smriti Irani?
Absolutely not.
Why not? Because you're such a...
Because when it's my decision to be a public person
Yeah.
and not the people I love.
Okay. But we would love to have one because it's so inspiring.
Political autobiography? No.
No, not at all.
Because I have an oath that I have taken constitutionally to my office.
No, we don't want politically.
So I can't talk personal, I can't talk political. What do you want me to write?
No. Personal, not personal as personal, but yes, your experiences and the way you've come out in life, it's so inspiring.
Thank you.
For a lot of women around us.
Why not men?
Even men, they should look
Because
upon
men
you.
will not get your journey.
They will not get your... Yes, that's true.
It's true.
It's true. We always, as it is, I feel women are more stronger than the men. I definitely feel women are more stronger than the men, so men don't need to. Women need to lead. Thank you.
Thank you for the compliment.
I have one final question. Okay. Very, very short question. Any regrets so far? No regrets at all. Okay.
No. Everything that fails teaches you. Relationships, organizations, journeys. Everything teaches you. You only have regret if you've not learned. I've learned. No regrets.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
A very good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, and our distinguished guests. On behalf of the Ladies Study Group Charitable Trust, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to each one of you for gracing our annual award ceremony. We are truly privileged to have the esteemed presence of Honorable Mrs. Smriti Irani ji, Union Cabinet Minister for Home and Child Development and Minority Affairs, Government of India, as our chief guest. Her willingness to be a part of this event adds great significance to our cause. A special thanks to Smriti ji for graciously presenting the award and engaging in an insightful, interactive session with all of us. As we move forward, let us carry the spirit of commitment and friendship to the noble causes championed by the Ladies Study Group. May I now request our governing body member, Mrs. Yashodhara Khaitan and Mrs. Parul Saroop, to give a token of appreciation to Smriti ji. And Mrs. Parul Saroop to Mrs. Shweta Punj. I would like to thank our hospitality partner, IITC Kolkata, and the media for their constant support. May I request our governing body members to come up on stage for a memorable picture with Smriti ji, followed by the committee members.